like the Dad's Army rejects they resemble. Why has the police been given evidence of potential wrongdoing, they wail? Why can't we just assume that his great imperial blobbiness is innocent of everything and move along? In other news, water companies have taken the slap on the wrist for all the sewage they've let flow into our lakes and rivers and seashores and considered that this is the time to reward themselves for a job well done. It's as though they don't speak English. They might not, as they are French, German, Saudi, Norwegian, anything but English. And the Health Secretary announces that propping up a handful of hospitals that are about to fall down definitely counts towards their fantasy figure of 40 new hospitals. Believe that? Believe anything.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC.
From Global's newsroom at 10 o'clock, Phillip Schofield's left ITV with immediate effect and has apologised to his friends, family and management. The 61-year-old presenter has admitted in a statement he lied to them about having a relationship with a younger male colleague on This Morning. He was still married and it was before he came out as gay. Josh Wheeler is founder of B Broadcast, which is a specialist broadcast PR agency, and told LBC it made things difficult for the TV programme.
That show is all about being connected, being human, being in your front room and talking to you about your issues and the things that you face. Well, if you can't be upfront and honest and clear on the things that you're facing, then it doesn't work.
A judge has told a mother and father they did nothing to help their son, who was plainly dying, as he sentenced them for murder. 10-month-old Finlay Bowden from Derbyshire suffered burns, bruises and broken bones in the weeks before his dad fatally shook him in 2020. Shannon Marsden and Stephen Bowden got 27 and 29-year terms respectively. Anne Longfield was the Children's Commissioner at the time of the baby's death.
I think this is one of the most disturbing cases that I've read about, but clearly, we need to make sure that this kind of tragedy just can't happen.
A British man will serve at least 9.5 years in prison after travelling to Syria to join Islamic State. The 27-year-old from High Wycombe left a family holiday in Turkey to sign up 9 years ago. Transgender women are going to be banned from competing in elite female cycling events in Britain. A new non-binary participation policy will see a new open category, meaning anyone can ride in it. And a vigil's taken place to remember 2 teenagers who were killed while riding an electric bike in Cardiff. Residents in Ely have released balloons following the deaths of Harvey Evans and Kyrie Sullivan on Monday. An investigation's been launched into whether the pair were being followed by a marked police van at the time. Local vicar Canon Jangold says it's been a poignant evening.
As soon as the countdown started, everything went silent down there. And it was just this moment of recollection for everybody, really, why we're actually here tonight.
In the city, the FTSE 100 closed up 56 points at 76.27. The pound buys $1.23 and €1.15. LBC weather, cloudy with light rain in the northwest tonight. Long clear spells elsewhere and a low of 6 degrees. From Global's newsroom for LBC, I'm Daryl Jackson.
This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbott.
Oh, hello there. Very nice to meet you.
Well, let's get back to it.
I'm a little confused. That person who was a television expert who was reporting there on the news. Now, I don't know who that was, but I'm sure he is absolutely excellent in every regard. He's an expert. But it seems to me, like, I don't really get this whole Phillip Schofield thing. Like, I'm genuinely confused. I've never seen that programme. I know sort of what it is, but I'm not one of those people who can't find the remote, who are watching television in the morning. That part blows my mind, that there are people actually watching television in the morning. Why would you want to do that? I mean, but all the multiplicity of other things that you could be doing, like, I don't know, looking out the window, fiddling about.
Disgusting.
But apparently there are a significant number of people who can't think of anything better to do than to watch that bland beige tripe. But what difference does it make who he was having an affair with? I don't get it. Like, I am genuinely confused. That caused him to resign from ITV, which sounds like a big thing to resign from. That's like resigning from the television. And that expert that was just quoted on the news, he was saying, oh, well, you know, it's all about honesty, that programme. No, it's not. No, it's not. It has nothing to do with honesty. It's about providing some beige fare for those who are off work sick. And if you can't be honest with yourself, he said, then the programme doesn't work. Absolute rubbish. Well, you have to be totally, completely and utterly honest about everything about yourself to work on that show. Like you've got to take the audience into the doctor's surgery with you. Please hop up onto that couch, hands and knees, while we're trying to get a good shot. Mystifying. You can call me Mr. Fide. David emails, do you think that the reason that Bodger had a meeting with Trump yesterday is that he's thinking of running with him as a vice president in 2024? It seems a far more attractive proposition than Uxbridge. I bet Bodger Johnson wouldn't be able to find Uxbridge without a sat-nav. I bet he doesn't even know where it is. North, south, east or west, Bodge, pick one. No idea. Uxbridge. The good people of Uxbridge thought it wise to vote for that man as their representative. How's that going for you?
Dreadful.
Yeah, shocking. Are you beginning to feel left alone? He says, we could eventually see another President Johnson in the future if Trump stepped down. Trump is never going to step down. If he becomes the president again, he will be president for life.
I can be more presidential than anybody.
He could be more presidential than anybody for life. He will ban all future voting. You know that that's true. And quite a lot of very, very eager messages. I'll come to those in a minute. But first, the weather. We are finally set to enjoy a long overdue spell of warm weather. Finally! It's here. The Met Office says the area of high pressure which has brought good weather across the UK over the last couple of days is going to continue into the bank holiday. A bank holiday?
What?
Another one. What's this one for? Billions and billions of pounds are being wiped off the British economy and nobody cares because the sun's out. You know, whenever you hear about some government official whining on about strikers costing the economy, the amount of, I don't know how much it is, I'll just make it up. £2 billion per bank holiday. Can you believe that?
Yes.
I think that is the actual price. That's how much it costs for this country to down tools for the day. £2 billion per holiday. And how many have we had so far this month? About 6. It could be 1 or...
And 1.
Or 2, maybe.
2.
Or...
6 million.
6 million bank holidays this month already. Can you believe that?
Yeah.
The Met Office says the high area of pressure, which has brought good weather across the UK over the past couple of days, is going to continue into the bank holiday weekend and next week. Temperatures look set to hit 22 degrees centigrade in parts of the country on Saturday and Sunday, and I hope, sincerely, that your parts are included. Met Office Chief Spokesmodel Paul said, the jet stream sitting to the north of the UK is holding unsettled weather systems at bay and allowing high pressure to dominate, bringing fine weather to the vast majority of the UK. But the current position of the high pressure means we will see a westerly airflow over the UK, a cooler direction than if air was being brought up from the south, from areas such as Spain or Africa. Oh, second-hand European air.
Disgusting.
Nobody wants to breathe that. So we are not, apparently, because the westerly airflow is predominant, we are not likely to reach heatwave conditions. Not yet. Met Office Deputy Chief Spokesmodel Steve said, next week is half-term for much of the country, and indications are that dry, bright weather is likely to continue for the most, with little in the rain. He was drunk at the time. He said, next week is half-term for much of the country, and indications are the dry, bright weather is likely to continue for most, with little in the way of rain throughout the next week. Can you believe that?
No.
Meanwhile, travel experts are warning of busy roads. RAC spokesman Rod said, "No one wants a breakdown to get in the way of having a nice time with the family and friends. Yet so many of the jobs our patrols will go out to are completely avoidable if drivers complete a few checks before they get out onto the open road." He says ensuring oil and coolant levels are where they should be. He was drunk too. He said ensuring oil and coolant levels are where they should be is a must. As is, checking tyres are free of damage and are properly inflated. Also, make sure that you have some huge thing hanging from your rear view mirror and that you can't see out. And always put your fog lights on because, that makes you look cool. Of course, if you're in a hatchback, you will already be doing this.
Thank you.
Saturday, cold. Not cold, cloud. And so... Shall I start this whole show again?
Yes.
Right, from the top. We're finally set to it... No, I can't do that again. Saturday, cloud, some outbreaks of rain across Scotland, across the northwest of Scotland, I bet. I bet it is. Checking while you wait. Aha. What? Forecast for Glasgow? Not raining at the moment. Nor will it be raining tomorrow. Sunny on Sunday, sunny on Monday, sunny on Tuesday, sunny on Wednesday, sunny on Thursday, sunny on Friday, sunny on Saturday, and sunny next Sunday. Pfft, rubbish. There's something wrong with my phone. Outlook for Sunday to Tuesday. Dry and warm by day, but cool at night, so, not summery, but summery-er. Would you like to hear the long-range forecast for the next 4 weeks?
No.
Right then. Getting serious now. It's practically halfway through the year already. How did that happen? Answers on a postcard to the following address. So from now until the end of the first week in June, most areas should remain mostly dry. Mostly. Sunshine, light winds, remaining warm. This is for the next couple of weeks. A very small chance of thunder, lightning, very, very frightening, developing in the south in early June, but dry and settled weather patterns are expected. So, that's not bad. And then the middle 2 weeks in June, getting vital that we get some good weather now. Good luck, everybody. Fingers crossed. Middle 2 weeks in June. Dry, settled conditions are likely in central and northern parts. Unsettled weather in the south of the country with prolonged spells of rain. But temperatures are likely to be above average for the time of the year. Temperatures are likely to be above average for the time of the year. We'll take it. Rob emails, if Bodge hadn't insisted on taxpayer-funded lawyers, he wouldn't have been referred to the police for holding illegal gatherings at Chequers. He's a great big greedy nincompoop.
The great big greedy nincompoop.
I couldn't agree more. Ahmed says, I bet Cruella doesn't even touch her 80 grand salary as she's too busy claiming everything on expenses and eating food at her place of employment, subsidised by us. Damn it! Yes. But she wants us to train to do low-skilled, low-paid work. Doing low-skilled, low-paid work is part of the government's high-skill, high-paid work promise efforts. I think I need a coffee. I need a coffee. Bromley. Hello, Joe.
Hello, mate. Nick, are you all right?
I don't think so. Go ahead.
As indeed are we all. Phillip Schofield, what a litany, what an absolute joke, shall we just say?
A joke?
The guy, well, he is, obviously. I mean, the man can't even make up his own mind.
What does that mean? Can't make up his own mind?
Well, to have come out with his wife and his kids and to have said, well, all of a sudden...
Well, I think he has made up his own mind.
All right. But the very fact that it's very, very important, it's front page news.
Oh, God.
How can that work? How can that work? How can that work? How can
the reason it works is, Joe, because people keep clicking on it. If you stopped clicking on those stories, it's like David Beckham's kids. How many careers has that kid gone through? It's about 63, and he's only 12. I think he's a photographer / chef at the moment. I have no idea. But the reason that the Mail keeps printing stories about him is because people keep clicking on them. They know when you click, They can see you doing it. If you want them to stop writing stories about Phillip Schofield and Beckham's kids and, I've got no idea who is, I avoid the sidebar of shame like the plague. There's far too much to read in the actual news part of the news side. But if you want to see less of those stories, stop clicking on them. Trust me that will work. I guarantee it, or your money back. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Are there all these from just now?
Yep.
All of them?
There's like 2 from last night.
Oh my God. From last night? I wasn't even on. I wasn't even on last night. Why can't these people leave me alone? How do they get my number? 0345 6060 973. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbot, LBC.
This is LBC. This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
Okie dokie.
0345 6060 973. So this thing with Boris Johnson's absolutely comical. Shame he's not here to see it, isn't it? He's busy working for his constituents in, let's see here, Las Vegas. Boris Johnson's allies up the ante, says Sir Steve Swinford out of The Times. Boris Johnson's allies up the ante and warn that they will obstruct Fishy Sunak's government unless he intervenes to stop what they see as a witch hunt. They say it's the final straw for Johnson and warn that MPs and members supportive of the former PM will begin organising. Yeah, fix bayonets, Corporal Jones. A Boris ally said, Boris has been supportive of the government, but this act is the final straw. There are a growing number of MPs who want party leadership to act to stop these witch hunts, and a group of MPs will meet to consider options. And then they'll have a nap and forget what it was that they agreed. Meanwhile, members across the country are being organised, they said. Yeah, you could organise them by face colour. Red, redder, very red indeed. Boris Johnson's allies claimed that the decision to refer him to the police was signed off by senior ministers. They said ministers had direct knowledge of what was happening. This is denied by Cabinet Office and the government. They said, "Oh, weren't us, we don't do nothing." What happened to, if you've done nothing wrong, you've got nothing to be afraid of? What happened to that? Or does that only apply to us poor dopes who pay taxes?
The little people.
The little people, not leprechauns. Meanwhile, Keir Starmer said he's had it up to here. He said Boris Johnson has new questions to answer about allegations of lockdown parties at Chequers. Business meetings. This is despite the public being fed up to the back teeth with stories about his law-breaking, says Keir Starmer. Fed up we are.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
Yeah. Of him and everything about him. Everything about him. Keir Starmer said there were people who were feeling both hurt and fed up about the continuing saga. We're not just hurt, we're fed up. He said, but there are questions now about how these allegations, why have these allegations not come out before? Yeah, it's part of our new open government that we've heard so much about. Keir Starmer weighed in on the controversy, says The Guardian, after the Cabinet Office published fresh allegations of wrongdoing to the police this week. Now, it seems to me that that's where allegations should go, isn't it? So that they can, have a rummage around and see what's gone on. Isn't that the normal course of events? Not in Toryland, goodness me, no. That's just for the little people. Rules don't apply to them. And they get most irksome when it's suggested that rules should apply to them, don't they? They start flailing around and having a major fit. Starmer weighed in on the controversy after the Cabinet Office passed fresh allegations of wrongdoing to the police. Now, if they hadn't done that, that would in itself be against the law, wouldn't it? So now, am I hallucinating, or do Boris Johnson's allies want people to break the law so that Boris Johnson is not subject to the law? Is that where we are now? And the only reason we know about this is because, of course, Bodger tried to get us, well, he didn't try, he succeeded in getting us poor dopes who pay taxes to pay his blooming legal bills. He's off earning £6 million for doing his stand-up act. Paw! That. Where am I? Paw! You know, that routine. £6 million. How's he worth that, by the way? No stand-up comedian in the world earns that kind of money. How is he worth that? Just curious, aren't you? So he handed his lawyers representing him his diary and other evidence. And the lawyers took a look at it and thought, we better give this to the police. And the reason that they did that is because he isn't paying for the lawyers. We are. Or the cabinet is in our stead. And so the lawyers, seeing evidence of potential wrongdoing, passed it to the authorities, as is the right thing to do. They're hard-working people doing the right thing. Pretty stupid, Bodge, really, to try and get a free legal team. You had us pay for them, which makes us the client. It just came back to bite you, didn't it? Nincompoop.
The great big greedy nincompoop.
A great big greedy nincompoop. How can someone who claims to never have done anything wrong be so concerned that the police are looking into his behaviour? I mean, what are they going to find? You said yourself that you haven't done anything wrong.
I followed the ministerial guidance at all times.
No problem then. What's the big concern? Why the flailing and the wailing? I mean, could he be fearful that he has not, in fact, been legal, decent, honest and true? Legal?
No.
Decent? Legal and true?
No.
I don't know. Let's look into it and see what we find. I mean, why would anybody object if they've got nothing to hide? Of course, police have fined Johnson already in relation to things that he insists that he didn't do. More than 100 fines were handed out to him and others over events held in and around Downing Street, making it the epicentre of British criminality. Guilty! And this saga, this Partygate saga, contributed to the demise of Johnson's premiership. But he's spent the entire time he's been out complaining and whining, either personally or through his close friends and confidants, that it's the blob that did him down. It's the wokerati, or I don't know, some nonsense that they make up. Just basically anything that Trump said last, ditto. This is what it is.
Whinging and whining and moaning.
Complaining. The diaries showed about a dozen events at the Grace and Favour mansion, Chequers. And Grace and Favour means that we're paying for it. You don't pay for nothing. That's that's in less than a year. A dozen events. Evidence was provided to Johnson's government-appointed lawyers, but the cabinet officer, which paid for the lawyers, also received the diaries, and officials then decided that under the Civil Service Code they should refer the matter to the police. It's the legal, decent, honest and true thing to do. And Downing Street denied Johnson was the victim of a politically motivated stitch-up. I refer you back to the comments I made some moments ago about if he hasn't done anything wrong, what's the big to-do? What's with the flailing and the whining? What are they reacting so furiously to? Evidence of potential wrongdoing being given to the police. Isn't that what you're supposed to do? Investigations continuing as normal. Is that what they're complaining about? Or is it because they don't get a pass to do whatever they want, whenever they want to do it? What a way to run a country, eh?
Dreadful.
And he's not even here. Can you imagine if he was? He can cause this much kerfuffle from 6,000 miles away. He had to go to Las Vegas, by the way, because in the interests of his constituents in Uxbridge. Uxbridge twinned with Las Vegas. Pretty sure that's right. 0345 6060 973. Let's have East Yorkshire. Hello, Mike.
Hi, Nick. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Good. Well, I rang us about immigration, but I've got to have a quick comment on the Johnson job. Because he appointed Sue Gray and announced this woman as having utmost integrity.
Yes.
Perfect character. Mm-hmm. Until it didn't go quite well for him. So, and then they started slagging her off.
Yes.
Now, he appointed Baroness Hallett to do the COVID inquiry. And his supporters are now slagging her off, saying that she's organising a witch hunt against him. He doesn't do very well choosing women, does he?
No, he doesn't, no.
Sue Gray, a civil servant of the highest integrity and of the greatest reputation.
Sue Gray, a brilliant civil servant. Everyone knows that she is a person of great integrity.
And ever since it didn't go their way, they've been going, boo, Sue Gray.
Oh, dear me.
It's just comical, isn't it? I tell you, it's not comical. It's embarrassing. I'm embarrassed on behalf of this country. Other countries are looking at us thinking, God, what a bunch of dopes. If only we could untether them from Europe and just push them off into the North Sea, wouldn't that be marvellous, think the French? And then maybe they'd get a little less sewage washing up on their shores.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Talking about immigration now, this number that's been announced this week, if you look at it logically and dismantle it without any emotions or whatever, you take off the Ukrainians, you take off the Hong Kong people.
Hong Kongers, yeah.
You look at how many students came in, which only actually compensated for those that didn't come in COVID. And when you take them off, it's not in the least bit astounding. But we've got two political parties saying, whoa, we've got to get these numbers down, because neither political party dare tell us the truth that these numbers really are nothing to see. They want to appear strong on the immigration thing, because they're frightened of appearing weak on it and losing the knuckle drag of it.
They're not even talking about the 600,000 odd. They're talking about the couple of thousand that arrive in dinghies, stopping the boats. That's his thing over and over again. I've got to stop the boats. It's got to stop the boats. It's my number one priority.
It's the country's number one priority.
But it isn't the country's number one priority. Most of the country couldn't care less. They're worried about the price of butter. Have you seen the price of butter? They're not bothered about boats, but he is. He thinks that's where winning the next election is secreted in people's concern about the damp dinghy people. Got to go, Mike. Thanks for that. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC. It's 10:30. The news headlines with Darryl Jackson.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Tweet @LBC. Text 84850.
I really like you. Do you like me?
Yes, sure. Why not? 0345 6060 973. Darryl texts, well, if last week Cruella jumped the shark, this week her Immigration Minister Robert Jenrick has jumped the six-headed mega sharktopus. He stated that speeding up the processing of asylum claims would create a pull factor, encouraging more refugees. I mean, that might be his sincerely held view, but he's not supposed to say the quiet part out loud. Well, they specialise in saying the quiet part out loud. I mean, the voter ID thing. What's your view on that?
My view?
Oh, yeah, we know. Yeah, we know. You're not supposed to tell us. It's supposed to be a secret. All of these really, really smart people turn out not to be that smart. Tom says, did you hear about the expert who's been banned from a government event where he was going to give a keynote speech? Mogg apparently introduced a social media vetting scheme in 2022 to stop anyone who had participated in criticism of government officials and policy from attending any government events. Yes, well, we don't want no experts. We've had our fill of experts. And they complain when they are accused of being authoritarian. Well, here's a tip. If you don't want to be accused of being authoritarian, be less authoritarian. Might be a good place to start. Colchester. Hello, Chris.
Hi, Nick. All right?
Yes, good, thanks.
Yeah, no, I always thank you for questioning the lockdowns as well, because I think you were proven right about that. But
about what?
About being sceptical about the lockdowns.
Was I?
Yeah, you was.
Now, what do you mean by
Unless
sceptical?
you change your mind.
Well, I change my mind about everything on a daily basis, depending on which way the wind is blowing. What do you mean sceptical about lockdowns?
Well, you were kind of supporting the Sweden approach.
Right, yes. All Swedish people, always so perfect.
No, but you ask questions, and I appreciate that. So that's what a journalist is meant to do.
Right. Well, I'm not a journalist, but I might ask questions, but only because I don't actually have the answers. If I had the answers, then I wouldn't ask the questions.
Well, that's what a journalist is meant to do.
He's meant to,
and you did the right thing.
Right. I'm a hard-working person doing the right thing. Yes.
Yeah. I'm always grateful. But
all right. Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I just think this focus over Boris Johnson, and what I said to the researcher is like, we're on the verge of World War III with Russia, basically.
Are we? That's alarming.
Yeah, pretty much. And and we're focusing about Boris Johnson still. It's kind of, that guy's out of office.
Yeah. If we were on the verge of World War III with Russia, we are actually in World War III with Russia right now. I mean, what's the difference between what we're doing right now and actually being at war? Not much.
Exactly. That's my point. Because Joe Biden said a year ago that if we give weapons to Ukraine, then we're in World War III.
They'll use them.
Yeah, that's my point.
That's my point.
Yeah, well, we're not in disagreement. So it's like...
I disagree. Yeah, I don't think we're in World War III. I mean, you're talking about these stories now that says, well, Vladimir Putin is still going to nuke you.
No, not at all.
Okay.
But you have to put yourself in the position of the Russians. That's what Kennedy did in 1963. And it's been a good... But we have so many crazy people now in office.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
I know. It's painful.
So that's what I'm worried about. And, people talk about climate change. Well, my main concern is nuclear war. And I think more people should be concerned about that.
Well, that would change the climate.
It definitely would.
Yeah.
And I just think there's not enough people worried about it because...
Well, what would be the point of being worried about it? I mean, it's going to happen one way or the other. If rootin', tootin', shootin' Putin feels backed into a corner and he's going to set off some nukes, because that will show us, then being worried about it ain't not going to protect you from the radiation.
I don't think it's going to be Putin. I'm more worried about the people in Washington that are talking about tactical nuclear strikes. I mean...
Nobody in Washington is suggesting that the West engage in tactical nuclear strikes. No one at all.
Yes, they are.
Who? Name the person.
All the neocons, like in the US. Every neocon in the US is saying they want to take out Russia.
A neocon? I don't think that's entirely correct. No, I don't think neocons, but like who? Who, for instance? Like, are you talking about the Bushes?
Absolutely.
Those people?
No.
It's not Hillary's fault, is it?
No, it's not Hillary's fault either. I'm not a Trump fan or anything. It's like, but, it's the same neocons that, if you listen to Douglas McGregor, it's the same neocons that were in charge during the Bush administration that are in charge now.
Let me assure you, Chris, nobody in America is going to drop a nuclear bomb on Russia. It's not going to happen. Not now, not ever, never. Happy?
No.
I didn't think you would be, no.
If you look at the coup in 2014, where we installed...
Coup?
Yeah, it was a coup.
What coup? Where are we talking about now?
In Ukraine in 2014.
Oh, God. Are you actually one of these people that is sticking up for Russia now? Like it's the evil West who's been encroaching on their territory, so those Ukrainians deserve everything they get.
No, I did.
That's not you at all. That's somebody else I was thinking of, right. Anyway, apart from a general fear about World War III, which is understandable, but not something you want to dwell on all day long, what else have you got, Chris?
No, I just called in to thank you for being a journalist during lockdown.
Right, well, I'm not a journalist, but I appreciate it.
Thank you.
0345 6060 973. Isabel texts, why did you not warn me sufficiently? You did not tell me it would be 26 degrees Celsius in my garden this afternoon, and now my face is covered in calamine lotion as it is burnt to a frazzle. Oh, the smell of it. All over her. Derek says, we don't know who was the driver of the car driven into the gates of Downing Street. Could it be an overweight 58-year-old with white floppy hair shouting, it should have been me?
Yeah. Wait a minute.
Yeah, no, he's busy working hard for his constituents in Las Vegas, apparently. I'd be upset if I was one of those dopes who had actually voted for him, thinking that he was going to be, an excellent representative for my needs. Fully expecting him to be in his office working diligently on my behalf. I'd be upset if I was one of those people. Hands in the air if you were one of those people. I bet you couldn't find any now. Not any that would admit to it. I do believe that you've been had. I do believe that we have been had and continue to be had all day, every day. Gateshead, Fevos.
Hello, hi there.
Hello.
How are you?
Yeah, good, thanks.
Great show. I understand why it's not in the daytime, though. It's a bit too crazy for daytime.
A little bit, a little bit too for daytime.
Anyway, well, I called to talk about the EHRC. I assume you know what that is.
Yes.
It's
European Court of Human Rights. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Human rights. And apparently in charge of it is a baroness, which that is interesting.
She's in charge of it?
Yeah.
Okay.
She's the head of EHRC.
Right.
Of equalities, a baroness. Anyway, so apparently she made a few statements and made a few decisions that pointed towards the direction that she actually hates trans people and views them as a danger to society.
I'm not sure that that's true. What did she specifically say?
Well, it is a very long topic we could talk about for hours.
Yeah, well, you know what? I don't really want to talk about it for a single solitary second. I was not on that subject. I didn't mention that subject. Those syllables never dropped from my lips. Why do you think that you can call in and just yank this show in the direction that you want it to go? Not now, not ever, never. And furthermore...
No.
0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's at LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC.
This is LBC. This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Tweet at LBC. Text 84850.
Would you mind telling me what this is all about?
Yes, it's all about a storm in a teacup of about a daytime TV show that almost nobody watches. I mean, a lot of people do watch it, but, as far as the rest of the country is concerned, no one watches it. Almost everybody in this country has got better things to do than to watch daytime television. But look at the reporting of this is absolutely hysterical. Of which I don't mean funny. I mean, they seem to have lost touch with reality. These are the top stories on the Mail's website right now. Phillip Schofield admits affair with young This Morning colleague. Fallout from Phillip Schofield... These are all separate stories. Fallout from Phillip Schofield cover-up threatens to engulf ITV. Phillip Schofield apologises to wife Stephanie Lowe for affair. Phillip Schofield's career lies in ruins. Phillip Schofield is dumped by talent agency. Phillip Schofield's statement is in full as he admits, etc., and so on. And only then do we get to the really important stuff, like... nothing really that important. It just goes on and on and on. It's a load of old nonsense. But not since you-know-who was getting this sparkly hat have I seen so many stories about just one thing. This country's lost its mind. And the essence of it seems to be, oh, well, he wasn't honest. Oh, well, when you're on morning television, you have a relationship with your audience and you must be honest at all times. It's absolute nonsense. OK. I don't know much about television, but let me have a guess. I would suggest that most of the people that occupy a sofa with others on television don't actually feel very strongly, in a positive way, about the people that they're sitting on that sofa with. They don't care about each other. They couldn't care less. They don't hang out afterwards. They're not actual friends. They're pretending to be friends. It's pretend. It's television. They're pretending to like each other. And if you can do that, then riches may follow. They're pretending they're interested in low-cost cooking. They're pretending that they're interested in cheap high-street clothes. They're pretending that they're interested in saving on their energy bills. They're millionaires. What do they care? But that's the reason that he has to go, because he had an affair. Well, on that subject, Claire says, I agree regarding Phillip Schofield. I mean, wasn't the current king having an affair at one point? Yeah, at least one point, as far as we know. He didn't get fired, did he, says Claire. Didn't get fired. That's right. In fact, he got promoted. Promoted to have to listen to this for the rest of his life. Every time he steps out of a carriage. That'll teach him. 0345 6060 973. People are talking about this as though they personally have been slighted, as though he's cheated on them. It's a mystery. I don't get this country anymore. I genuinely mean that. It's almost like I'm a stranger in a strange land. I just don't understand what is happening in this country anymore. I mean, perhaps they're just ramping up this as a story because, the Meghan is keeping a low profile. Hazza isn't here anymore. The King's got his sparkly hat, so there's not much of a story there. Yeah. And nor will there be from, for his entire reign, because he's just not that interesting. So they're just flailing around, trying to find something else to stick on the front page, and this is it for today. Tomorrow it'll be something else. It should actually be Boris Johnson, of course, but the papers that are reporting Phillip Schofield on pages 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and a colour pull-out section inside, those are the ones that are Boris Johnson supporters. Anything to get him off the front page, eh, Bodge?
Yeah. Where,
anything at all. Erith. Hello, Steve.
Hello, Nick.
Steve. Sorry. You're Steve. I'm Nick.
Yeah, talking of television, you won't remember, but I told you leading up to the coronation I was going to throw mine out the window, and I didn't.
Right.
But
Good choice.
Yeah, well, I'm in the ground floor anyway, so...
Yeah.
But,
not very rock and roll, throwing your TV out the ground floor window. No.
No. But, I've decided that if I am to get rid of it, what I will do is donate it to somebody who would make use of it. So
better.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But I noticed I still ain't watched anything. The only thing I've seen was Motorhead in concert, but I turned it on just as it was the end.
Motorhead in concert?
Rock and roll! Yeah, it was on that Sky channel that you mentioned.
Right.
Sky Art. So, but everything
does that
repeated.
count? Does that count as art? Motorhead in concert? Loosely, I suppose. I suppose loosely. Yeah.
But what I wanted to tell you was what I have seen while I've been flicking through. It was did you know there's a Prince Andrew the musical?
Yes. Yeah, I have seen that. It was on to Christmas, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Well, I saw it.
It was actually quite funny. It had the problem that all comedies have. It was funny for about 60%, after which they, as far as I can recall, they sort of ran out of ideas. But that's the same with every comedy I've ever seen, pretty much, almost all of them.
Okay, so yeah, I wouldn't even bother looking into it, but I just wondered if you'd seen.
Trust me, Steve. You try it, you might like it.
Can I tell you one more thing, if I may?
Go on.
A while back, you was wondering about the difference between illegal and unlawful.
Yes.
And I'm not saying this is correct, but what I think it is like illegal, obviously something the police could arrest you and put you in handcuffs, whereas unlawful could be like a bylaw where you can have a court action over it, but do you see what I mean? I'm not very good at explaining.
No, and furthermore...
No.
No, you do not know the difference between unlawful and illegal?
Well, I just best be careful then, don't I?
Yes, you certainly had best be careful. The difference between unlawful and illegal is unlawful is against the law and illegal is a sick bird. Bet you wish you hadn't asked now. Thanks, Steve. 0345 6060 973. Another satisfied customer. Sam says, I got bugs splattered all over the front of my car. I've not had that in years, says Sam. I've also noticed more insects crawling and buzzing around the garden. What's going on? Is nature finally fighting back? Well, nature seems to be having a bit of a moment. Don't park your car under a tree because it is shedding sap like this in sort of clouds. Not great big globules dripping down off the tree, but they seem to create this sort of this sticky cloud that just covers your car if you park it anywhere near a tree. So don't do that, is my best suggestion to you. But anything that's white seems to have gone absolutely berserk, like flower-wise is what I'm talking about. Cow parsley, daisies, and then I sort of run out of knowing the names for things. But you must have noticed it. Hedgerows are absolutely laden with white flowers. There was a caller last week who described it as it's like they've all got snow on them. And it is like a thick snow cover on trees and bushes and on the ground. Anything that's white has just gone mad. And I have noticed a lot of insects. Yes, so perhaps nature is finally fighting back. And then we'll be sorry. Adrian says, I am stunned. We are barely starting with the warm weather, yet my water company sent me an email this week with handy tips to save water.
What?
A water company telling me how to save water. If only I could reply to them, I'd tell them where they could stick their tips. Oh, can you believe the water companies? I mean, you know what they've done now. Well, you don't really need me to tell you. Do you know how much? How much? I'll come to that in a while. Unbelievable. Joe says, according to the I newspaper, Bojo Johnson has missed 187 votes in the House of Commons since he was unceremoniously derobed of power. Oh, derobed.
Disgusting.
What a thought. Ugh, even Carrie didn't want to see that. He's also coined in £4.2 million in speaking engagements in the same period. It's good to see corrupt, lying, disgraced politicians get their comeuppance, says Joe. Yeah, that'll teach him. Thank you, sir. May I have another? Yeah, this was the Independent. You had to go and you had to buy the paper to get this story, or you had to be an online subscriber. They put it behind a paywall. But I guess I'll come to this in a minute. But he summed it up for us pretty good. Made about £4.2 million and doesn't appear to be spending too long on dealing with the problems of his constituents. You know, the good people of Uxbridge? I think it's Uxbridge and South Ruislip, isn't it? Who have got a lot of problems. I mean, for a start, they live in Uxbridge and South Ruislip, so there's that. And those people... Those dummies who voted for him, thinking that he was going to be, beavering away, like working hard on their behalf. What on earth led them to think that? I bet they won't think that again. They have been seriously disabused of that notion. Hey, you know what? I'm slightly early. Gosh, I hope that the news person is aware of this, because it appears as though I've hit the button just about a minute too early. Wow. What could happen next? Isn't it exciting? 0345 6060 973. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbot, LBC.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC. This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbot.
Hi, Annie. How are you?
Oh, hello.
Yeah, so this is The Independent, and they're doing a bit on Blobby Johnson. To date, the ex-Prime Minister has earned £4.23 million just through public speaking engagements alone, according to his Register of Interests. £4.23 million. This is on top of the £510,000 he was given as an advance on his memoirs during his time in Downing Street, bringing his total earnings to just shy of £5 million since the leaving office. But we're still paying his blowing legal bills. What a bunch of mugs we are. But the globe trotting comes out because he's in Las Vegas at the moment. You know, he's there acting in the interests of his constituents. And he's been to Texas and here, there and everywhere, baby. But the globe-trotting comes at a cost for his constituents. He's voted a total of 3 times since he was forced to resign as Prime Minister. And one of those was to rebel against Fishy Sunak's new post-Brexit deal for Northern Ireland, the Windsor Framework. During that time, the House of Commons had 190 separate votes. He voted 3 times at 190 different votes. The 187 votes that Mr Johnson has missed include crucial votes on voter ID laws, the National Security Bill, online safety legislation, and the hugely contentious illegal migration bill, all of which he is not remotely interested in, or at least he's not more interested in them than, making a lot of money. Making a lot of money. Huge. The trip to America is the latest in a busy schedule of speaking events for Johnson, which has seen him flit from Washington to New Delhi via New York. He's travelled to Singapore and back, stopping off in Mumbai last month before he was in Las Vegas and Los Angeles before travelling to Seoul last week. Paying for himself, his own travel, I'm sure. Each of the events pay him a 6-figure sum, with the highest single known amount for a speaking event, £277,723.89, from a bank in New York. And it's always plus travel and accommodation, of course. What on earth does he have to say to a bank that's worth £277,723.89? What could he tell them that they don't already know? Aren't you curious? I know I am. The telephone number sums of money, says The Independent, he is earning, has allowed the Johnson family to buy a 9-bedroom Grade 2 listed country manor house in the Cotswolds for a reported £3.8 million. Apparently it was paid for in cash. We just don't know whose cash. Shall we assume it's Boris's cash? Not sure. Despite his upturn in fortunes, the Johnsons continue to be supported by their benefactors, JCB tycoon Lord and Lady Bamford, who have allowed the family to use 2 of their properties since leaving Downing Street. It's like they've adopted him, like he's their pet. As of this May, they'll have the cleaners in trying to beat the stink out of the carpet. What have you done to it, Bodge? As of this May, Johnson's Register of Interest still lists the use of the Bamfords' £20 million London townhouse, spitting distance from Harrods in Knightsbridge, which is listed as being valued at £10,000 a month in rent. It's very expensive for those that can't afford it. Free to those that can.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
Yeah, free. They also enjoy the use of Lady Bamford's Cotswolds cottage, complete with a moat and tennis court, which is valued at £3,500 a month. They must love him, LUV. I mean, blimey. What on earth is happening in this country? Does anybody have any idea? Him least of all. He's never here, apart from anything else. Why are we paying for him? I mean, it's not an inconsiderable amount of money, is it? OK, it's not the kind of money that he would stand on his feet and do as 10-minute act for, being as it's only about 86 grand a year. But it does come with £250,000 worth of expenses and all the subsidised food and booze that you can consume. And I have to assume that he gets his money's worth. But, you know, what are we paying him for? What do we get for all that money? Because he seems to be completely ignoring his, you know, job. All this other stuff, these are side hustles. How are we putting up with this? Meanwhile, he's farmed out his whining for his minions to do on his behalf while he coins it in. What a way to run a country, eh?
Dreadful.
Come on, Fishy, get a grip.
I'm gripping it.
He is pre-gripping it for our convenience. Harrow, Jonathan.
Hello?
Yes, Jonathan.
So, I was listening to your speeches, actually. I'm back in Harrow now.
Yes.
And now, whenever I call you, your fans on the Twitter, they call me the crazy Uncle Jonathan from Harrow is talking about the walkie-talkie again.
Yeah.
Walkie-talkie? Yeah, I say that as a joke, but it is a proper point I want to get to in a second, if I may. But this country is now, firstly, financially, I'm not doing good. Because I was in the Calcutta and the Abu Dhabi, and I took good flights, and I stayed in nice hotels for a month and a half, actually. And
well, that sounds suspicious. What were you there for?
Just business.
Oh, well, that's cleared that up. Business.
No, but,
business?
I was spending money in December thinking that things would be okay, like the country's economy would be okay, but it's not okay.
Big mistake.
So,
huge.
I overspent in December, and then now the food is expensive. My water has gone up by the double.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the law and order, I had to chase a thug, female actually, who beat up my chicken shop owner on Tuesday.
What?
Yeah, it was a she, and she was... now, walkie-talkie means that there were some things about her I can't talk about.
Right.
But because we don't have the free speech, even you are like a rebel. You are like the Bobby Kennedy. But even you are a bit scared talking about a few things nowadays.
Well, I mean, there's certain things I don't want to talk about.
But everybody is now. For example, the Bobby Kennedy Jr., I did not know existed, and he has not been given, TV appearances for 20 years. You know, the Bobby Kennedy son. Anyway, so she punched the chicken shop owner.
Right.
And this country now, the police take so long to come. And the racism also means that the car handler kept saying to me, I can't understand what you're saying or
Right.
nothing.
Well, maybe they couldn't understand what you were saying.
No, listen to me. And I have to
I am listening to you.
Because of the militant feminism, I had to... No, it's true. Because of this, I had to keep... Because now the neighbor knocking... Wait a minute. Hey, I can't do nothing now.
Hang on a minute. So you're talking so loudly that your neighbour bangs on the wall?
No, because the point is, in this country now, you have to... a few months ago, I said to you that you can lose your job for a tweet, and your fans, they were on Twitter saying, Jonathan is a mental. And then people call you...
They probably didn't say that. But can we get back to the part where your neighbour is banging on the wall because you're shouting so loudly down the phone? So this means that they are really at the end of their tether, that they've had this up to their eyeballs and they just can't stand it anymore. So they're now reduced to banging on walls.
No, we are at the end of our tether. We had the little kiddies shooting the water guns at our houses. And I came out today and I said to the kiddies, Nick, what would you do in this situation?
Mm-hmm.
What would you do? Like if
water guns. Water guns.
They're like 8-year-old little kiddies.
Right. And they're shooting water guns at your house.
Yeah, at the top window, just a little bit of water. And
so what did you do?
Well, now, okay, you have to be so careful talking. Eminem, when he became famous, first of all, and kids used to knock on his door, he one day came out with a gun. I did not do that.
Eminem?
Yeah.
Are we actually talking about Eminem the rapper now? Eminem, that's where this conversation has gone. Eminem.
No, but what I did, I stepped out and I said, if you keep doing this, I'll call the police, lovely.
Right, oh, that'll stop them, yeah.
No, but then a woman and a man came in a car and said, oh, Mike, they're just little kiddies. We all have fun as kids. And then some of the kiddies said, those were my parents. I'm worried now I've got like a hit on me.
Well, don't stand next to me then. Jonathan, it's been, trying to find the word, inspirational. It's been inspirational. But I really do have to go. And keep the noise down. You nightmare neighbour, you. 0345 6060 973. But I do appreciate that call, whatever it was about. Chris says, I've been listening for the last 3 years and I'm disappointed you failed to give updates on using your fly zapper. I mean, there is more to life than Donald Johnson. Yeah, no doubt, whoever he is. I haven't used my fly zapper in a good long while because there hasn't been any flies about, but they've started to encroach in my area.
Oh, no.
And that will not do. I mean, they can go outside and they can, have all sorts of hot fly relations with each other.
Disgusting.
But not in my house. No. So I will get it up and I'll juice it up. I'll put new batteries in and then I'll deal out some justice. Joe says, Nick, it will take a braver man than the Prime Minister to sack Braverman. Why? Just sack her. The problem with the Conservative Party is that they're going to have to come up with somebody even worse to replace her with. I mean, you might have thought that they couldn't possibly come up with somebody worse than Priti Patel, but they managed to find a way. Yes, they did. So I can't imagine who is going to be even worse than Braverman. I mean, who could it possibly be? Curious minds are keen to find out. Actually, I'm not keen to find out at all. Can't we just sack her and just let that department run itself? Wouldn't that be better? I think that would probably be better, yeah. 0345 6060 973. Have I got time to take a call now? Probably not. I'll do one more text. We'll just, at random, we'll see what we get. Diving in, Dan says, standards of political communication hit a new low this week when Cruella de Braverman's response to being asked if she would resign was to mutter, stop the boats, frantically, as if she'd just done a runner from Broadmoor. Perhaps she has. It would explain a lot, says Dan. Well, it's a good job you didn't say anything offensive there, Dan. I think we got away with it. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC.
LBC. Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
A big sack of monkey nuts.
Yes, it is a big sack of monkey nuts. There is no doubt about that. Billy emails, do you remember when Boris Johnson accused members of the London Assembly of being great supine protoplasmic invertebrate jellies? Oh, how times change. I think that's a pretty good... if you could come up with a better description of Mr. Blobby himself than a great supine protoplasmic invertebrate jelly, then I'd be stunned.
Yeah. Wait,
Can you come up with a better one? Jan says, MPs on holiday yet again. With the country in such a mess, wouldn't it be a good idea for them to forget about the holidays and get on with some work? Or is that asking too much? Yes, Jan, it is asking too much. Offensive? Glasgow. Hello, Craig.
Hello, Nick. How are you doing?
Good, thanks.
Yeah, I was obviously phoning about the nonsense around sort of Boris Johnson and Cruella Braverman. What I find astonishing, right, all the people on the right who are supporters of the likes of Boris Johnson, they'll all have a pop and talk about how, this stuff's frivolous, nobody cares about this, who cares if he had another party, it doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
clearly we do care. Whilst at the same time, though, you see even things that matter even less coming from them when they try and throw mud. I mean, I seen a thing today on my lunch break, just sort of scrolling through news things as I tend to do online, and a thing from GBB's popped up where it had, the headline, Angela Rayner buys second pair of AirPods with taxpayers' money, then pays it back.
Yes.
So in that one headline, they highlighted this massive scandal, whilst at the same time saying, but it's been resolved because she's actually paid it back.
Yeah, it was a scandal that amounted to £129, as far as I'm aware. £129. Of course, we ignore the part about the billions and billions and billions of pounds that have just disappeared into thin air, and nobody really has any idea where they went. So we'll just ignore that and we'll concentrate on the £129. That got paid back.
Exactly. But it shows how desperate they are to cling to try and throw mud somewhere. Now,
anyway,
if they really wanted to... Yeah, but listen, the one thing I would say, Labour did give themselves an own goal this week, of course, because they restored the whip to Mr Coyle, the MP, after the really quite nasty things that he'd done. And was found guilty to have done. So for a party of zero tolerance, they've restored the whip to somebody that doesn't deserve it.
To who?
Coyle, something Coyle MP. He had abused the sort of...
Well, I don't know who it is that you're talking about.
The journalist and
hang on. Whoa. I don't know who it is you're talking about. So, okay, hang on a minute. MP Neil Coyle, who...
Neil Coyle.
I'm unfamiliar with his work, but I'm sure he's excellent in every regard. MP Neil Coyle has Labour whip restored following suspension for harassing assistant and racially abusing a journalist. Oh,
yes.
I don't know. Well, I neither know nor care. There's more important things to be concentrating on. Don't get sidetracked, Craig. That's because that's what the forces of evil want.
Yes. Yeah, no, you're right. That is a sidetrack. I'm just, there are other things. But I think the thing with Boris is, and Suella Braverman, I mean, really, these people, it just demonstrates just how unfit that man was to be. I am embarrassed that man was ever in charge of this country. It is a joke that he was allowed to have the reins of power. It's an even bigger joke that his sycophants, people like Nadine Dorries and Jacob Rees-Mogg, you were talking about people get worse.
Yeah.
Home secretaries.
I know.
Those two would be worse if they got the job.
Even Liz Truss is embarrassed.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Oh, are you all right, Craig? I think you need to see a doctor.
Yeah.
If you make that phone call right now, you'll only be put on hold for the next 30 days, and they'll be able to fit you in before Christmas. I promise. All right. Thanks a lot, mate. 0345 6060 973. Caroline says, butter prices are astronomical. I'm thinking about making my own, but it'll probably turn out like cheese. Well, then you'll be able to eat cheese, Caroline. Steph says, can I ask you... Steph texts, can I ask you, if you were asked to step in on breakfast television, who would be your sofa sister? Oh, there is only one name. Carol McGiffin.
What?
It's you, Carol. You would be my sofa surfer. Right there with me. I mean, we'd get refreshed before we went on.
Booze.
And our first show would probably be our last. But it would be amusing while we did it. And I know that that's true because we do a podcast. We've been doing a podcast for about 3 years now. And there's over 150 episodes up there. It could be 160 or more now. We're charging towards 200. I cannot believe it. We've probably only managed to get this far because we don't actually sit in the same room when we're doing it. Because she's in the south of France, living it up on, in the lap of luxury. Meanwhile, I am here in the rain and the misery.
Stop whining.
But it works. It most definitely does work. If you wish to be amused and you've got an hour to spare, then it'll be right up your alley. Plus, we also solve people's problems. We really, really do.
Yeah.
If you want us to solve your problem, then you must send it to the following address. nickandcarol@global.com. NICKANDCAROL @global.com. And they must prepare themselves for total satisfaction. Isn't that right, Carol?
No.
Ask for it by name on an internet near you. What's your problem with Nick and Carol? That is the name of the podcast. What's your problem with Nick and Carol? I think you'll love it. Let's have West Devon. Rose.
Oh, hello, Nick.
Rose.
Yes, well, I suddenly remembered I was hoovering earlier and I was talking aloud to myself. And I heard myself say, I am looking forward to Nick tonight. It's so relaxing. I can laugh at the weather and then admire his diatribes. And I thought that was rather good, don't you? Admire your diatribes.
My diatribes? Yes. You believe that, Carol?
I just heard myself say it, but I think we all do. Anyway, the thing is...
Have you been out in nature this week, Rose? Have you seen the amount of white flowers out there?
Yes, we nutted about this last week,
yeah.
and I told you it was hawthorn, or otherwise known as May. I was sat under a little May tree yesterday.
Oh, very dangerous.
And this blackbird just started singing.
Right.
Just above my head, and I couldn't see it in there. I mean, the most glorious, varied, but I really
How do they do that?
With
their tiny little blackbird brains, how do they come up with a new tune every time they open their beaks?
Well, exactly. I don't think you can beat a blackbird, to be honest. And you said you only knew them by tune and robin, but that's two of the most beautiful sounds on earth.
They're like random noise generators, because most birds repeat their song, don't they? But blackbirds, they never repeat, like ever. It's an amazing thing that they are like some sort of giant computer that has been programmed to come up with some like a burst of random noise about every 20 seconds. They have a brain the size of a matchstick head, and yet they can come up with something new every single time. It's absolutely incredible.
It's incredibly inventive. Yes. Well, I had got a story about that, but I'm really urgently wanting to tell you about this other thing, if I may.
Yeah.
Perhaps I can do the blackbird thing another time, but
I have a robin story. I have a robin story. It doesn't really go anywhere, but I was sitting out in the garden, minding my own affairs, and a robin just alighted on the ground in front of me and stared at me. And I thought, oh, yeah, what's going on here then? And it didn't move, and it just stared at me, and then it flew off and landed on a branch a couple of feet away and just stared at me. And I thought, what? This is like a scene from The Birds by Alfred Hitchcock. Pretty soon I'm going to be surrounded by a dozen of them, and they're going to go straight for my eyes. My beautiful eyes, Rose.
Oh, really, Nick? Yes.
And so I got up and I went back into the house and peered at it through the window, and I was sitting right in front of its nest. That's what it was doing. It was like, what the hell are you doing in my garden, it thought.
Well, that's right, yeah.
Yeah, so now I have to avoid that entire area.
Yes. Can I tell you about this other thing, then?
Go on.
I'll have to rush it now, although that was extremely interesting. Well, it's encouraging about the insects. That's what prompted me to ring tonight, actually, because I wasn't sure whether I should.
Yes.
Because swallows, it seems, need 6,000 a day just to feed a brood. Now, the thing about this story is that last week...
6,000 insects?
Yes.
God.
Flying insects. I went to the place where every year they turn up around, early May. And every year I go and I'm absolutely thrilled. They're whizzing about like emblems of joy and in and out of the church porch. It's a tiny church perched on a rock, you see.
Yeah.
Where they nest every year, some miles from here. And I've got there last week and they weren't there. And I thought, well, they're not coming. And I mean, being me, I just sat down and broke my heart. Fortunately, there was nobody else around. I sat on this bench and sobbed because I've been looking forward to them coming back ever since they left in September.
Right.
Anyway, the thing is, I've cheered up.
They were held up at the airport, perhaps.
Well, this is the
They didn't have.
I don't know why I didn't think of this.
The correct papers.
Papers. I hadn't thought of this, funnily enough, but it does seem that they can be quite considerably delayed by storms and things.
Yeah.
It's a 4-week journey from South Africa. And I did see a couple flying in the area yesterday. So I'm cheered up. I'm thinking maybe I'll go in a few days and they'll be there, They can see that could be then. And they haven't started all the stuff in the porch with the nest and everything yet, because, I mean, when you've come all that way, you need a bit of chilling out, don't you?
That's
when
right.
you get there.
Yeah.
You know.
Couple of beers and a cigar.
Well,
that's right.
You know, refurbishing a nest and laying eggs and things.
Yeah.
So I'm hopeful now, so I hope next week I can ring with joy. I won't go on about it, but there's all that. It's just kept bringing this cartoon from Punch back to mind, Nick. I've always liked it. It's somewhere in a book I've got, you know, a Punch annual. And what it is there's this big chap sitting, looking very stern and sort of frowning in a big chair, you know, with a great big newspaper. And he's looking up, sort of frowning but bewildered from this paper. And there at the window is his wife, turning, obviously just looked out the window, and turning back with this bright smile on her face. And the caption is, she's saying, "Ask yourself, Henry, would the swallows return to a country that had gone to the dogs?" And I thought, well, here is a question for us today, isn't it?
Right, and the answer appears to be yes.
Yes.
Yeah, birds don't care. They don't read the papers. Good for birds.
Oh, well, I just think it's so sweet.
It is sweet, yes. It's nothing but sweet. Thanks, Rose. 0345 6060 973. It's just past 11:30 on LBC. The news headlines with Daryl Jackson.
Leading Britain's conversation. Nick Abbott. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
Shut up.
I can't. 0345 6060 973. Tooting. Hello, Jan.
Hi, good evening, Nick. Thanks
Jan,
for taking my call.
Thanks for making your call.
Yeah, I wasn't going to mention anything about birds, but hearing you and Rose speak about birds, I thought I'd come in there on something, because, like, the blackbird...
Blackbird singing in the dead
It's like
of
a
night.
maestro, isn't it? It's like a maestro amongst birds, so it's
It is.
a lovely song.
It's extraordinary.
I was recording some of them a while back, but I also observed that they tend to sing and then they stop and they want to hear their territorial mate or something sing back to them. And I think it's just, is it the young ones that are finding their way around the songs, that they make up things? Because I started recording some and trying to work out how to do the tune on the piano. So
It's not a tune, it's just random noises that they just string together in a short burst, and then they wait, like you say, 20 seconds or so, and then they do it again, but it's completely different, and they never repeat. How do they do that, their tiny bird brains?
But there must be the young ones, because the ones I got, the ones in Tooting, seem to sing the same song.
No, that's not
complex.
blackbirds, that's something else.
But Nick, the strange thing is what causes confusion. Well, I didn't know they had changed their song so much, but what causes confusion is the starling, who's a great mimic, and it can mimic other birds' songs. So it can invade territories where it, you know, where birds won't think it's a starling.
Yeah. They're pretty aggressive, those starlings. I was sitting by the water in Hyde Park having a beverage. Booze. And they just swoop in like some malevolent cloud of dark, oily little flying things.
Oh.
And, they're very, very bold. I mean, they don't take no for an answer. They just sort of surround you and look at you like, well, if you don't give us some food, well, think about pecking your eyes out.
I didn't know they were like that.
When you're not looking.
Did you know that Mozart had a pet starling, and he bought it because it sang part of his music, because it was mimicking something he wrote, or that's how the legend goes.
Right.
He even had a funeral for it when it died.
I did not know that. The stuff you learn on this show, it's educational, no?
No.
Yeah, but I didn't think I didn't. I mean, birds are fascinating. I love them. I can see them outside my window.
Right.
Nearly.
It's their feet that freak me out. Have you ever seen a bird's feet?
The pigeons seem to have lost a lot of their feet.
Yes,
When you
they
see the brown
do.
pigeon-
What is that about? The amount of hobbling pigeons you see that are missing a foot. Why do they keep losing their feet?
It's amazing? But without having any medical attention, they don't sort of die from some disease.
Medical attention. I suppose so. Yeah, they could call for an appointment with a doctor, but he probably wouldn't. He probably wouldn't see him. Or she, sexist.
But I feel quite privileged where I am because I get a lot of... This wasn't what I was going to talk about, but it's interesting, though, because from my windows, my upstairs windows, it's like watching a David Attenborough or nature study film out my window because there's like...
In Tooting? I seriously doubt that.
No, it's like a jungle out the back, actually, a bit at the moment now. And even the fox is clearing my part of the garden to get... somewhere to lay down, but it's had
Tooting. Tops. It's like a jungle out there, right?
No, in the back and part of some of the gardens because the foxes have taken over.
Oh, there are way too many foxes. That is true. That is undoubtedly true. There are way too many foxes, and there are way too many parakeets. Somebody should be doing something about them. They are seriously irking me. Every time I go to Kew Gardens, it's the only thing you can hear. Those squawking, luminous green things have taken over.
Yeah, but Nick,
what?
I'll come back to foxes another time because the mother fox has got 5 pups and she's sort of feeding them, and it's really amazing to see how they behave. They're very lovely.
The reason that they can feed that many is because morons. That's the reason. Morons drop food all over the place, and that's why we've got so many foxes. Yeah. If there were fewer morons, there'd be fewer foxes. That's just true.
Well, I'm going to see if they can be taken away because I want to be able to feel safe to go in my garden and not... You know, they can you can get them relocated by certain charities.
Foxes
countryside.
Relocated, right? Maybe send them to Rwanda might be a good idea.
No, but Nick, coming back to there were 2 points I wanted. Well, one point I think is important. Is this thing about when you had a caller mentioning about Russia and the nuclear threat.
Third World War. Yeah, don't worry about
it. No, I don't, because I think the latest thing that is the worry is the way that Russia, they found, was having submarines doing surveillance.
There's always going to be something to worry about, but it's not going to affect the outcome one way or the other. So don't fret about it.
No, they're saying their submarines are planning to.
I'm sure they are. Yeah, and if they do, they do,
cable.
And if they don't, they don't. And you worrying about it ain't going to make no never mind, Jan.
No, I'm not worried about it. It's the internet cables. They want to bomb them and disable the country that way, not with nuclear weapons.
We don't know that that's what they want to do at all. That's what people have been paid money to give their opinions about, and newspapers will write it up to freak out their readership, because making you fearful and angry is money in the bank. Yeah.
Well, okay.
Is that it?
Well, anyway. Well, no, I was going to say something about Phillip Schofield as well, because I was surprised. I haven't seen the papers today because
There's nothing in them. Nothing in them, Jan.
No, but it was the thing about his brother. It seemed to be Nadine Dorries. I didn't know she wrote for the Mail. I was reading what she said about it, and she didn't know. This was yesterday.
Okay.
And she's going on about Phillip Schofield.
I have zero interest in what Nadine Dorries said about this or any other subject, but I do appreciate you passing on the good news. Thanks a lot, Jan. 0345 6060 973. I just don't... I feel like I'm missing something with this Phillip Schofield story. I mean, the papers, and when I say papers, I mean the Mail. It's going on and on and on. He had a relationship with another bloke at a place of work, and that is apparently a red line. Oh, nobody has ever heard of such a thing. That is absolutely disgraceful. Where do most people meet their life partner? Or just their partner for the weekend? At work. Where else? I know this is true because I just looked up a few surveys, and they all say the exact same thing. Looking for a partner? Your best bet is the office party, says YouGov. Here's where people found their other half. From the lowest to the top. A face-to-face dating event, 0. 0. None at all. You're wasting your time. Through family, this is from the lowest amount to the top. Where did you find your partner? A hobby, school, that's not in school, that's, old school friends. Through a dating app, almost no one at all. Through university, getting more. Through an online dating platform, 7%. While out and about, what does that mean? What, just like walking along the street, minding your own affairs? Someone will sidle up and say, "Hey, baby." Through mutual friends and the number one choice, through work. That's where people meet. And now it's a firing offence? Well, the reproduction rate is very, very low in this and many other Western nations. If they banned meeting your life partner at work, then the human race is in great trouble. Because where else are people going to meet? We will be leaving this planet for the birds because we won't be, doing it anymore.
Disgusting.
But that's why he had to leave ITV, because he had a relationship with somebody else who he found at work. I'm confused. It's like I'm missing something. Or is that it? Because if that's it, then that don't seem like very much to me. Oh, and he was still married at the time. Well, as somebody has reminded us, so was you-know-who. He was still married at the time. He didn't get fired, he got promoted. But then he does have to listen to this song for the rest of his life. So that'll teach him. 0345 6060 973. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbot, LBC.
Nick Abbot on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Anybody care what this guy thinks?
No!
Lee says, this week a boat of illegal immigrants was in trouble in French waters in the Channel. A French ship turned up to rescue them, but they refused to be rescued by the French and demanded to be rescued by an English ship. So an English ship went out and rescued them. Madness, says Lee, with many, many exclamation marks, like he's shouting at me. Well, my contention is, why should the French do all the heavy lifting? I mean, the French take way more refugees and asylum seekers than we do. Why should we get away with doing nothing? Which is the aim of, the people who obsess about the small boats. Particularly the person whose number one priority it is.
It's the country's number one priority.
Yeah, but it's not the country's number one priority, Fishy. No matter how many times you say it, it don't make it so. It's our number one priority, Mr. Speaker. Not so. Incorrect. It isn't. Price of everything is people's number one priority. The incredible criminality of those at the very, very top of society would be a higher priority of dealing with that than dealing with the small boats, which is as nothing compared to the amount of people that are allowed in here from Hong Kong and who are doing studying and all of the rest of it. The small boat people are as nothing compared to all of that. Plus, everywhere you go, there's a help wanted sign, and we Brits don't want to do all that low-paid, low-skill work. And no amount of politicians telling us that low-paid, low-skill work is part of their high-pay, high-skill dream is going to make it so. British people do not want to bend over double in a field for 3 months of the year, yanking tubers out of the ground, because what are we going to do for the other 9 months of the year? It's absolutely ridiculous that Tory politicians are suggesting that that's what we do. We want to skill up British people to do jobs that they've already told us that they don't want to do. I mean, how are you going to persuade people to do something that they don't want to do, and by extension leave a job that they do want to do? They want us to leave better paid, higher skilled jobs to do low paid, low skill work as part of their high skill, high wage economy promise. That makes sense, yes?
No.
It doesn't. Nothing about it makes any sense, but it doesn't have to make any sense. Just has to make headlines, that's all. Sandbach. Hello, John.
Oh, hiya.
John.
I've been listening to you all through the programme and all that, and I keep getting diverted from what I originally wanted to ring about. But I mean, regarding the fruit pickers and the veggie pickers and all that,
yeah.
There's a country western song which is called "Take This Job and Shove It, I Ain't Working Here No More." And I think that sums up about the English attitude to doing them kind of jobs, because we did that 100 years ago. And
it's not just the English, it's not just the Brits, it's all well-off Western countries. They don't do that work anymore because we do better work. Why would you want to go from being midway or up the ladder right down to the bottom again, just in order that? I mean, I don't really understand why. Just so that a politician can appeal to the lowest common denominator in society, the mouth-breathing knuckle-draggers, and spread hate in order that those politicians can cling on to their jobs for another 5 years. I mean, because that's what this is about.
Their attitude that we're here for their benefit, and we should be doing those kind of jobs.
Yeah.
And we should be touching our forelock and yes sir and no sir and 3 bags full. Sir.
Always wash your hands before touching your forelock. And afterwards, as a matter of fact.
One other thing was the Boris Johnson thing. Does that mean once you get elected as an MP, you never have to go to Parliament?
Never have to go to Parliament, never have to lift your finger to do a single solitary thing. That's right. You can just go...
And you still get your 85 grand a year.
And £250,000 in expenses. Don't forget that part. That's the part they like the best.
Yeah, I wish I could get that job.
Yeah.
But I'd be swanning around all over the place.
Swanning? Right.
Yeah. Well, you've been talking a lot about birds, haven't you? So
yeah,
I've just thrown another one in.
You have. Don't throw a swan though, because that might be the last thing you ever do.
I get hung.
They don't take any nonsense, swans.
No, but I mean that's the level. How about all these people that robbed us of during COVID of all our money?
They get a pass. Because it was the patriotic thing to do, apparently.
PPE.
Yeah. And anybody who starts questioning them about that is being very, very unpatriotic.
Oh, I see. But we can question somebody about £100 on about
headphones. Yeah.
Headphones. Yeah.
Yeah. That would be front page news for a couple of weeks now, I would imagine.
Yeah, and there's one paper that likes to go around gay bashing. We live in a cockeyed society. I mean,
yes, we do. Yeah, everything is upside down, back to front, and inside out. Yeah,
our priorities are twisted by people who work for these right-wing papers or own these right-wing papers, and they're speaking on our behalf when they're not really.
Well, they're speaking on our behalf from an address abroad in a tax haven.
Yeah.
They're determining the direction of the country by remote control from another country. That's how crazy this place is. Yeah, John, I'm going to have to go, but thanks for that. 0345 6060 973. George texts, I think everyone should leave Bodger alone. He's doing his best. It's all Harry and Meghan's and Putin's and Jeremy Corbyn's and protesters and people on boats and strikers and Phillip Schofield's fault. Yeah, thanks a lot, Phillip Schofield. See what you've done. Let's have St Ives. Jay.
Hi, good evening.
Yes, Jay.
You forgot. I'm surprised you forgot to mention Boris Johnson. He had an affair with Carrie Symonds, hasn't she? Hasn't he? And he become a prime minister.
Yeah, that's right.
While he was married. Yes, that's another fun fact for you, for your factual show. So, and another thing is, I feel sorry for him, for Boris Johnson.
Do you?
I really do.
Right.
Yes, The reason why, because the only person who is going to profit out of all this, all his earnings is Carrie Johnson, because she's going to divorce him soon.
Oh.
And she's going to get the mansion. She's going to get all that.
Yeah, that mansion's in somebody else's name, so she ain't getting that. But she'll probably get the kids and the dog too, I would expect.
And then plus, nice school in Eton, and once it's all sorted, and he's going to be dumped.
Yeah.
But he's dumped all his wives anyway. Another thing is we make, my wife makes yogurt at home with the normal, because somebody mentioned she wants to make a butter. You won't be able to make a butter because there's no fat inside the milk. So when we make our, strained yogurt or whatever Greek-style yogurt, it comes up without, there's no cream on top. So we try to use the like lots of fat, not fat. You can use that. There's a milk. What's it called?
Gold Top.
Yes, that's the one.
From Jersey. Ooh, I love that stuff. I've been buying a lot of it. Now, it's probably very, very... I don't know whether this is true, but that extra fat, like milk used to be, where it has the cream on the top, but it's so thick, you have to actually push a spoon into it to, loosen it up a bit before you can get the milk out. I love it.
But that's the milk you get in my country when you buy from a cow's, others.
Directly, directly from the cow.
Directly. Yeah, from the cow. All you do is you boil it. That's right. You laugh at it. I mean, it's true. And then you get the best yogurt there, or you can make your own butter.
Butter.
But with this butter. But with Tesco's milk, you will never. Or Tesco. Sorry, I shouldn't mention.
No, that's not true though, because I buy that super creamy milk from a supermarket that does begin with T and ends in Esco's.
Okay, so but it will be very expensive. So to make a butter, it's not worth it. So that's my point.
No, I wouldn't. I would leave it to a butter expert. Yeah, life's too short. If it's too expensive, then just use less of it.
Yeah, but the yogurt is delish. So
use the what milk? He just forgot himself for a moment there. Use the very bad milk, I think he said. But there's nothing wrong with it. It's just a little less creamy than it used to be. It's a little less creamy than the really, really creamy stuff. But as for sitting there and making butter, I mean, who's got the time for that? I know I don't. I'm a very, very busy person. I have a lot of important things to do and places to go. Yes?
No.
I just can't be bothered. Actually, that's the truth. I wouldn't even know how to go about it. Please don't tell me. 0345... this is not Victorian England, as much as certain people would like it to be.
My view.
Exactly. I ain't going to make my own butter. Not now, not ever, never. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Blimey, is that the time?
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC. This is LBC from Global. Leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbot.
Hello, boys.
Hang about, Nick. Listen. Now, what I'm trying to say to you is this, Nick, right?
Victoria texts, I'm wandering around, genuinely trying to think of anything I care about less than what's going on with Phillip Schofield on daytime television. Only they care, says Victoria. No, Victoria. Completely incorrect in every respect. The nation is agog, apparently. Now, I don't know how many people watch that show. I'll say 500,000. Is it 1 million? Somewhere between those two numbers. But it seems that absolutely everybody is interested in somebody because they've been on television. TV is the thing. If you've been on television, then you are that person for the rest of your life. I mean, just ask... and I just was trying to remember who was on Blue Peter when I were a lad. John Noakes. Or that nice lady who was on Blue Peter. Valerie Singleton. John Noakes and Valerie Singleton. Are they still alive? I think John Noakes is dead. I'm not sure about Valerie Singleton. I wish her all the best. But they will be that person forever. Like 50 years later, they're still the person who was on Blue Peter. Cannot live it down. Or can't get away from it, more accurately. So people are obsessed about TV because it roots people. It's part of their lives. And it becomes like a sort of landmark in their lives. So there is definitely interest. I just don't know why they are so fascinated by this bloke and why he's had to retire or leave ITV, more accurately. Because he had... the story is, adult has a short-lived relationship with other adult. Is that it? Am I missing something? 03456. This is not a request to fill in the gaps. I mean, I'd be perfectly happy not to speak about this ever again, but I just do feel as though, like, I'm missing something. Why is it such a big deal? Most people find their other partner in work more than any other forum. Of course they do, because they spend all day. I mean, I would imagine that most people who find their other half at work would not have found them drop-dead gorgeous if they met them at a nightclub, for instance. They would not have rushed across a crowded dance floor to say, "You're dancing." But if you stick them together in an office for 8 hours a day for 5 days a week, then, you'll begin to overlook the overbite. Or the glasses that are as thick as the bottom of a bottle. All of these things, like a malodorous, air about them.
Disgusting.
All of these things that you will forgive just because you spend so much time with them. That's why people find their other half at work, because apart from anything else, they spend most of their time that they're not asleep at work. But now it's a resignable offence. I don't get it. Like, I genuinely am confused about what's going on here. Guildford, hello, Peter.
Hello, Nick. How are you?
Good, thanks.
The biggest mistake Phillip Schofield made is not being an MP. If you're an MP, you can get away with anything.
Anything.
Yeah. Especially if you're a government minister.
Correct.
Now I hear about Bodger yet again in America, and I do wonder, are there any rules at all in the House of Commons? Because no one seems to ever get punished for anything. And it's not just the politicians. It's the private companies, the utility companies. They can do what they like. But then they since with like the immigration thing, they moan about people on boats to distract us and all the rest of it, and Europe and all that. And then when the Labour stops coming over here, guess who they were turning on this week? The sick and disabled. They were saying to one woman I heard, right-wing commentator, and she said, well, we need to stop paying the sick. They've got to learn to be more, resilient. Resilient,
yes, that's right.
And she said, I believe if you don't work, you don't eat.
Wow.
That's
Who
what
said
was on
that?
the Jeremy Vine show. That was the kind of thing.
If you don't work, you don't eat.
Even if you're sick. That's how vile the right-wing people are. And it amazes me, everybody else in this country has to abide by rules. If you're at work, you have to abide by rules. Mm-hmm. Like, you have to be at work. I know it's...
Or you have to do it somewhere else. I mean, this working from home thing is not the end of civilization as we know it. For some businesses, I think it's quite right. For other businesses, it doesn't really work. I mean, for for, if you're in the creative industries, then it's probably not a good thing for that business. But if you're in a call centre, then what difference does it make whether you're sitting at home in your pyjamas with your breakfast down your front and still sleep in your eyes?
Anybody else, people at work, people on benefits, they all face rules. But the one thing I noticed since this stinking, rotten government got into power is that all that's gone. And we're, like my old dad used to say, politicians, most of them are nothing but a gang of crooks and con men.
Yes.
And when I look at them today, I think his words have come true.
Right.
Because all you see, and you're right, Nick, they keep all the right-wing press are all diverting our attention, and they give these silly stories, things that are not important. Immigration, although it's a serious issue, but immigration is not the number one priority for people. The number one priority is getting a home, is getting food, is having enough money to live.
Correct.
Those are the priorities, and none of the politicians are prepared to address it. And yet you've got him going over there making millions, and then you've got Liz Truss, the woman who destroyed this country.
Absolutely.
Going over there. They cannot lose. No matter what they do, they cannot lose.
They can't lose. Even when they lose, they win. And they will, by many accounts, be losing the next general... assuming that we're allowed to have another general election.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't bet on it. But they may well lose the next general election. But they will have feathered their nest to such an extent that even when they lose, they win.
Well, when they're in power... They don't, unlike other countries, they don't get money while they're in government. Well, what they do, they look after the big, like in the 80s, they looked after the big corporations, allow them to buy up our water and gas, electric and so on. And then when they leave office, magically, they get on the board of the very companies that they privatise.
It's a coincidence, Peter. It's a coincidence that happens over and over and over again.
Yeah, I know. I mean, we as the public, who already owned the water and the gas companies, didn't get a single penny.
Not
piece,
a penny,
of course.
no.
But they've made billions and billions of pounds. We've got sewage leaking out into our seas and rivers, and nothing's done about it. And all they're going on, I was listening to the news today, and I was hearing about Phillip Schofield. Well, to my mind, that is up to him. I don't see that as a crime. And then you've got
it isn't a crime.
You've got the immigrants, and I don't know, Prince Harry fell over the other day or something like that. It rained and Prince Charles got wet. That kind of thing. Anything to divert attention from the fact that the newspapers are owned by multi-billionaires and they all support a philosophy which is out for yourself and sod everybody else.
Can you tell me more about Prince Charles getting wet? Keep being angry, Peter. Don't let them get away with it. Good work. Thanks a lot, mate. 0345 6060 973. Wow. I'm awake now. Yeah, wake up, sheeple. It's later than you think. Maintain the anger. Don't let them get away with it. Chris says, this is alarming. He says the sap from trees is actually aphid excretions. Oh, God, it's worse than I thought. You are kidding me. Aphid excretions?
Disgusting.
I don't want excretions on my car. Cliff says, Nick, don't you miss going down the pub on a Friday, Saturday or Sunday night? Well, let me think about that. No. Patricia says, maybe Bojo's in Vegas looking at twinning Uxbridge with it. Then he could always go to his constituency's twin rather than his actual constituency. He doesn't need an excuse, Patricia. He just does whatever he blooming well likes. And then collects the cheque from us poor dopes who pay taxes.
The little people.
Yeah, not leprechauns. Why are we paying for him? What are we getting in return? I want our money back. Don't you? It's about 87 grand a year, plus $250,000 in expenses, plus all the subsidised food and drink that he can hoover down.
Booze.
So, what are we getting for all that money? What are the good people of Uxbridge getting? How many of their concerns has he dealt with? I'm just curious. Is it approximately zero? I would bet that it's approximately zero. I mean, that he thinks that he's above all that is so evident. Why would anybody even doubt it? Oh, he doesn't want to be concerned with those people, the little people. No, he wants to be hobnobbing with billionaires, and maybe some of that hot money will rub off on him. Why are we paying for that man? Genuine question. He's not even here. Never mind about in Uxbridge. Dave says, I was going to let the Johnsons live in my flat rent-free, but Carrie wanted to change the wallpaper. Alan says, yeah, and she would have wanted you to pay for it, Dave. Alan says, Bojo met with the Orange Man in the USA to no doubt discuss their futures and bet that would have been a great place to have been a fly on the wall. Wow, that's torturous, Alan. Do you want to rewrite that?
No.
OK, then. 0345 6060 973. Blimey, is it 12:15 already? I cannot believe it. This show's going to be great when it starts. What time is it on? 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's at LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC.
This is LBC. Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Absolutely.
Sorry, wrong one. Meant to be...
Right, so what are we doing?
Given we're doing a radio show. I do a podcast with Carol McGiffin. It's called What's Your Problem with Nick and Carol? I think you'll find it dreadfully amusing. What's Your Problem with Nick and Carol? There's a new one coming out on Monday, and there's well over 150 episodes up on the World Wide Web. It's on Global Player. What's Your Problem with Nick and Carol? Tricia says, heard you talking about your fly zapper. I did a terrible thing tonight. There was a huge fly in my lounge, and I got the fly spray, and I sprayed it. Then I realised it was the Mr. Sheen furniture polish. I quickly put a cup over the startled fly, and I'm now too scared to look. Oh, that fly. If you strike it down with furniture polish, it will come back stronger than you could possibly imagine. And shiny. Yvonne texts, did Boris Johnson comb his hair to meet the Donald? Yeah, I think he combed it with a balloon.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
York. Hello, Jan.
Hello, Nick. How are you?
I am great, mate.
Good. Nick, I'm going to disagree with you. You say there are too many foxes.
Way too many.
No.
Yes.
The reason you see too many is that we have moved into their land where they used to live. So they're getting their own back, coming to see you.
No, you're talking about gorillas.
No, I'm not. No. Foxes.
Are you talking about bears?
No.
Oh, I know. You're talking about polar bears, because that's a thing. People have moved into the area of polar bears, and now polar bears are exacting their revenge.
No, be serious. And the reason why they...
That doesn't sound likely, though, does it? Not really, no. But we could try. We could try for serious. Let's go for it, Jan. Why not?
The reason why they like it is because we throw so much food away.
Yes.
So they're having a great time.
Correct. Morons. That's the problem. Morons.
That is the reason.
Yeah.
So, it's not their fault, it's ours.
It is our fault. Everything is our fault, Jan.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
And another thing, you were talking about starlings.
I was, yes. Very, very aggressive. Oily of wing, like feathers. They look oily, don't they?
Yeah.
Like they've been dipped in oil.
But have you ever seen a murmuration?
I have.
Beautiful, isn't it?
Amazing. Yes, extraordinary how they all manage to turn as one. I don't think they do
How do they do it?
It's very, very, it's infinitesimally small variations, and the one goes, and then the next one sees it go, and then the one next to that sees it go, and it all happens in the blink of an eye. It looks like it's as one, but it's each. I think it's each bird reacting to what the next one is doing.
And then they all swoop down into the tree, don't they, to roost?
Yeah, one of the most extraordinary things I saw was I used to have a flat that overlooked a park and a long line of trees all the way down one side, and I saw a murmuration of starlings, and they just hopped. There must have been hundreds of them, and they just hopped from one tree to the next as one, all the way down the side of this park. I've never seen anything like that.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Like they ravaged this tree for whatever it was that they were enjoying, and then they sort of, right, okay, next tree, and they all hopped as one, but from tree to tree. It was really quite amazing.
Yeah, it is. It's fantastic, really.
Like science fiction, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I must disagree with you about the foxes, though. So.
Right, but we don't. Yeah. But we're not really in disagreement. We both agree that the reason that there are a lot of foxes in urban areas is morons dropping litter. It's idiots among us. That's the fault. But that doesn't mean to say that there are an insufficient number of foxes. I think we got plenty.
No, it's just because we're building further and further out where they used to live.
No.
So, yeah.
No, I don't buy that. Because all of the foxes that were, that had their habitat encroached upon, they're dead now. I mean, that's decades ago. They don't live that long. So, and they're not being encroached on. We are the ones that are being encroached on. I leave this building and see foxes as central as Trafalgar Square. They couldn't live in a more urban area. So we are the ones being invaded.
No. I'm not going to agree with you.
Right. Well, that makes you wrong then, doesn't it?
Oh, all right, then if you say so.
I do, yeah.
I'm wrong.
Okay, better luck next time, Jan.
All right.
All right, thanks for that. 0345 6060 973. Another satisfied customer. Mike says, going diving this weekend, how many fathoms will it take before I come across the Tory moral high ground? You're going to need a bigger tank of oxygen, Mike. I would recommend a diving bell. Send a drone down. John says, how would anyone sack Suella? She is absolutely too nice. She has my 100% support. Well, it would be hard to imagine how they could possibly find anybody worse. I mean, that would be their job. That would be their number one priority.
Under my leadership, the government's priorities are your priorities.
It would be his number one priority, finding somebody worse than she is. I mean, as I keep saying, it was impossible to imagine how they could find anybody worse than Priti Patel, but they managed to find a way. Who could it possibly be worse than Suella Braverman? Who could they find worse than that as Home Secretary? Well, I can think of one name. But I think she's otherwise engaged, ranting on some low-rent TV channel like that. Maybe not crueler, but at least as inept. At least we can agree on that. Malvern, Judy.
Oh, Nick.
Judy.
You know, I was almost nodding off.
Well, you have been waiting an extraordinarily long time. I am very sorry about that. I apologise.
Okay, I'd forgive you anything. Right. It's just that, that's another half bottle of wine gone.
I take full responsibility.
Booze. I say that to my doctor every time. Nick Abbott, every time. He just keeps me waiting. And, I see what you did there. We're just moving back to the bird theme and billowing white fluffy clouds of things.
It's hawthorn and cow, parsley and daisies.
It It is. Yes,
all
I know
white
that.
flowers are having a real moment. I've never seen so many.
I know, and I nearly stopped on the A38 going over to Tewkesbury. But actually, if I'd stopped, I possibly would have been killed. And I thought,
Yeah. Not worth it. Exactly.
Well, I was going to tweet you. I can't DM you because, of course, you don't follow me. But I can't imagine why not. But anyway, so that was the.
But what were you going to tweet? What was it that stopped you in your
tracks? I was
tracks?
going to tweet you a photograph of the billowing whiteness all along the way from the road from Upton upon Severn to Tewkesbury. It's just hawthorn and cow parsley. It's
magical.
Still there.
It is magical out there at the moment. Get out there and see it straight away, people, if not sooner, because it'll be gone in about a week or so.
It will.
I'll tell you what else is incredible is the laburnum. If you've got a laburnum arch up your way, Judy, you want to take a peek at it immediately.
I've seen about 10.
And the same goes for those purple hanging things. What are they called?
Wisteria.
Wisteria is the correct answer. Kew Gardens have got an amazing display of both of those things. You can go now, or go tomorrow, and you can thank me later.
I know, because they just built the arch in, I don't know, 2018 or something. But anyway, it's now coming to it.
I think that's Wisley you're talking about. That's the Wisley Arch in.
Oh God, you're spot on.
The Wisley, not laburnum, wisteria. The wisteria.
Wisteria.
There's quite a story about that. They had up all night fire parties to keep it warm when we had the frosts.
Oh yes, that's right.
People up 24 hours a day just to make sure that thing flowered, and it looks amazing.
It's fantastic. It's well worth all those cold nights, and
Definitely.
I'm sure they managed to keep themselves, happy.
Yeah, of course.
I'm not going to talk about Phillip Schofield because I don't care.
Right. Noted.
At all.
Okay,
thank you. I just thought I'd mention just the other 3 birds in my garden. Okay, the first bird, this afternoon, I saw a baby blackbird. I think it's going to be a female blackbird, but no matter. And it was hopping around. There's a sort of ivy hedge between my garden and the next garden. And there's a sort of bit of a grill sort of thing. And he was sort of trying to hop over. I think he'd come underneath and then he couldn't get over, which is heartbreaking. I mean,
can't it fly?
No. But it's big enough. It's almost ready. I don't know. I mean, I don't know the complete etymology of, I don't know. But
I think blackbirds are doing it all wrong. I mean, I suppose they know what they're doing, but I don't think that they should be hunting for treasure on the ground, because that's where cats are, and cats love birds. Where they like killing them. They're not that fussed about eating them because they get plenty of food, fresh, delicious, tinned food, which is what they like the best, as opposed to ripping feathers off things. But they like torturing them and killing them, for their amusement.
Playing, it's a good game.
Well, I guess so, unless you're the bird.
But quite. But anyway, I watched and I thought, no, I understand that you haven't got to touch them. I desperately wanted to sort of just pick it up with gloves, so maybe I thought that wouldn't smell of me. But you must never do that.
No.
I just thought, you're right. And then I didn't know that until a year ago.
I mean, apart from anything else, you'll catch one of them mad bat diseases.
Oh, good. Well, that would be better.
You could be patient 0, Judy.
And then the peacock. That's my last one.
Peacocks?
Yeah, peacock. Well, it's a peacock, which just arrived here in the year 2007. It was the year of the floods. And I think there may have been peacocks in sort of near the river somewhere, but, whatever. Anyway, it just arrived. And Percy, it's not a great name. I didn't name him Percy, but hey-ho. And Percy the peacock has taken up residence. It lives out the front of my garden, sits on the flat roof, little tiny extension, which is great when it's displaying, because actually you can't see. I can't see anything out of my bedroom.
It's getting it to display is the thing, though. How do you do that?
Oh, no, it does it of its own accord. Does it all the time. I mean, constantly.
Like here, you've seen this before.
Exactly. And he actually tried to attract a blackbird.
Well, that's just disgusting. I mean, yeah, no, that's never going to work. Judy, I'm going to have to go, but thanks for that awful image you've just left us with. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Just past 12:30, the news headlines with Daryl Jackson.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott.
Wait. I can't wait a single solitary second before talking to Malcolm in Bodmin. Malcolm.
Evening, Nick. How are you, sir?
I am great, mate.
You sound very cheerful tonight. Have you negotiated the contract or something?
No.
I was going to suggest you could have maybe picked up another three or four shows each week.
No. I'm just an ordinarily cheerful person. Carry on.
I could have recommended 3 or 4 shows that you could pick up. Nick, events this week and a policy suggestion for you.
Yes. This is a terrible phone line, by the way. Really, really bad phone line.
Is that any better?
No.
The two interesting facts. Nigel Farage has slated Brexit as a failure.
Oh, yeah. He said Brexit is a failure.
Brexit's going great.
And has posited the idea of a comeback.
Oh, God.
And separately, and I don't know how sort of coincidentally, another was a meeting in America of 2 prominent leaders of the English-speaking free world.
Yeah. Well, he does know words.
I'm very highly educated. I know words. I have the best words.
Well, yeah, he has the best words. And
Yeah. Wait a minute.
And he has the best words, so, it's like a match made in heaven.
And the 2 people who spoke very, very highly of each other. Have you got a sound effect for that? I think you have.
Very, very highly of each other. What's that sound effect?
A Johnson one. Come on.
Oh, right. When you like this one.
I think Donald Trump is clearly out of his mind.
That one.
That's the word, yeah.
Right.
Well, do you think there could be some sort of conspiracy here, since you've got 2 people not happy with the current government, both English?
Yeah.
But a slight glitch in that is you've got a former US president who accused a former English premier of being way too liberal.
Right.
And then the other thing, Nick, is a policy that I'd like to suggest to you. You're a bit of a journalist and a mathematician, so maybe you could work on this one.
Yes, go ahead. It sounds like right up my alley. Carry on.
Our national bank is a bank which works in our nation, because it's our national bank. And we've got a major problem in the country of potential house buyers being unable to buy houses because they can't find a friendly bank to help them with a loan.
Yes.
So my suggestion is, and I think it works for most people, that our national bank sets up a scheme with interest rate for the term of, let's call it a mortgage, to buy a house. And let's say that fixed rate is 2%. So the bank or banks make 2% interest guaranteed. But an awful lot of people buy themselves new houses or buy themselves a first house. And it's win-win because nobody loses. The housing crisis has a large put in it, in that people get a mortgage for 2%, and everybody is absolutely happy. Now, wouldn't that be an election-winning policy for a political party, Nick?
No, the problem is that there aren't enough houses. See, it doesn't really matter whether you can get a mortgage at 2% or whatever if you can't find anywhere to buy. And so people will have more money. If you make borrowing cheaper, then people will have more money and they'll be competing with each other over a limited resource, which will just send the price of that good higher. So that is just a recipe for higher house prices.
No, I'm so pleased you said that. So what you're basically saying
I
is...
fell into your trap, did I?
No, it isn't a trap, but I'm just loving that you said it because we're working seamlessly here this evening. And my point is this. So the Conservative policy and a freshly adopted Labour one of wanting to make home ownership a reality for millions more British people is a fallacy. It's a non-starter. It'll never get off the ground because there are no houses for all of these people who want to buy a house to buy.
And it's only just going to profit the developers, the major developers who are already up to their eyeballs in money. Don't you worry about them. And that's what that Help to Buy thing did. It helped precious few people other than the developers who are throwing up all these dismal, tiny little houselets.
Well, you say that, and my daughter actually was part of that scheme. She bought a house 2 years ago. And without that Help to Buy thing, she'd never gone on a ladder, but she's not on a ladder. And the thing with that, Nick, is, and not a lot of people know this, but for the first 5 years of that Help to Buy mortgage, the government is only charging you, I think, 1%.
Right.
After that, it goes to the base rate, I think. But that scheme, I think, is absolutely brilliant. And the Tories, to their credit, I think, are bringing it back. But I just think, Nick, that somebody somewhere should get hold of the banks, and they're not doing the banks any harm, because when you think about it, for the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years, interest rates were at what, 1%, 2%?
Yeah, nothing at all.
If you now they're up to 4%, well, everybody thinks this is likely to pass soon. So base rate 5% now, or 4.75 or whatever it is at the moment. It's going to fall. So why not a political party simply say, all right, what we're going to do is we are going to bank back, mortgages at a fixed rate of 2% for anybody who wants one. Nobody loses, Nick, so why won't somebody do it?
Well, here we are back at the beginning again, and you said all that, and then I said, if you can remember back that far, it's just all that will do is increase the price of houses, making it more difficult for those who are not on the ladder to get on it. It's going to make the problem worse.
At some point, and this is becoming a circular argument. At some point, Nick, more houses have to be built for everybody who wants one.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, interest rates are going to fall, or not, as the case may be.
Yeah.
And the government, by the political party, they've got to wake up soon, smell the coffee, and say, well, this, get a house at ever increasing prices is not in the interest of the people. So why didn't the People's Bank, i.e. the Bank of England, do something about it?
Okay, well, you're forgetting the part also about it's the young people don't vote by and large. It's older people who already have houses that vote, and those are specifically the target of the Conservative Party, because older people with houses tend to vote Conservative. So it's nothing that will come between them and an increased price of their assets.
But with this being a capitalist nation, society, economy, what better way is it to get to the people of the nation a nice big lump of capital, isn't it, or asset?
Well, as long as they can afford, as long as they can afford to buy some dismal little houselet in the first place, and all we're back right at the beginning again, and going around and around and around in a tight little circle. I got to go, Malcolm, because I'm getting dizzy. 0345 6060 973. Johnny texts, we have a tame robin who flies to our hands if we lean out the bedroom window and whistle. No. Don't do that, Johnny. That's how the mad bat disease started, I bet. I think there's all kinds of diseases that robins have. They're best viewed from a distance. 0345 6060 973. And that is probably excellent advice. It's the only excellent advice you've heard so far on this show. 0345 6060 973. Hey, by the way, we put this show and the Saturday night show up on the internet as a podcast. We take the news and most of the ads out, mostly, which means it takes less time to listen to. You'll use less electricity. And by that method, you'll save the planet for more birds. It's on Global Player. It's only on Global Player. And you have to ask for it by name. If you've got one of them stupid smart speakers, then the magic phrase is play Nick Abbott, The Whole Show Podcast. That's the name, Nick Abbott, The Whole Show Podcast.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
We're running late.
Helen nutshells it for us. She says, Boris tells us to wait for reports or investigations. You know, that old routine. Oh, I couldn't possibly comment on that. We don't want to prejudge the investigation. She says, Boris tells us to wait for reports or investigations, and after we've waited years, his fans tell us that the bad behaviour was ages ago, so now it's unimportant. That's completely correct in every respect. That's right. Oh, we can't talk about that now. We have to wait till the investigation is concluded. And as soon as the investigation is concluded, it was like, oh, God, are you still talking about that? That was ages ago. Helen says he must be laughing at us all the way to the bank. Exactly. I think you earn that kind of money, the bank comes to you. And Sarah says, like you, I love listening to blackbirds, but recently I've heard a thrush or two in my garden. I've just realised we've had none in this vicinity for years, and it's so lovely to have them back. Must be attracted by the oil beetles I have been creating a habitat for. Look them up, they're beautiful, says Sarah. Sarah, I don't want to, and you can't make me. Newcastle, hello, Jed.
Hello, Nick.
Jed.
Who's very happy that DJ's over in Vegas, his boss, Richie.
Jed, there's something... Jed, I'm very sorry, but there's something very wrong with your phone. It's cutting out the beginning of everything you're saying.
Still,
yeah, like that. Yeah, no, it's very odd. It's like picking up halfway through every sentence you utter.
Sorry.
Like that.
Is it not getting any better at all?
No. It seems to, if it hears silence, it's almost like it shuts down and then only leaps into life when it realises you're talking, which is too late.
So it's like the doctor as well.
I just didn't really catch what you just said.
Had some good stuff as well.
Oh, well, it is a shame. All right, better luck next time. Thanks a lot, Jed. That happens quite a bit. I wonder what that is. Whether it's one specific type of phone or, I don't know. Nothing in this country works, does it? let's just mark it down to Britain. 0345 6060 973. Let's have Glasgow. Eric. Oh, Eric.
Hey, Nick.
Eric.
How you doing?
All right, thanks.
Oh, fantastic, Paul. Listen, you're amazing.
Go on.
You're absolutely... Is this working okay?
It's fine, yeah. I can hear every word you say.
I'm sitting with my partner at the minute.
Uh-huh.
We met at a gay sauna.
Right.
How was that for you?
Well, how was it for you?
Oh, marvellous show.
Right.
He's loving the show. I told him about you. I said, this guy is first class. He keeps the country going. He keeps everybody happy under the current climate. And he loves you a bit. H-A-P-P-Y-ness.
That is my mission. Is that it?
That's it.
Okay, excellent work. Thanks a lot, Eric. 0345. He just wanted to let us know. 0345 6060 973. Paddington. Richard.
Foxes.
Foxes.
They're everywhere.
They are.
A lot of people who don't live in London, how busy is central London at any given time?
Busy.
Right, and I've seen them in central London. I live in central London. I live in Paddington.
Yes.
And I see them walking down Edgware Road. It's like 7 p.m. in the evening, and then
they own the place.
Yeah, it's just amazing. They're just strutting about. They don't know that they're a pest. Not only that, you know what I mean?
That's true. Yeah, they don't know.
Trafalgar Square blew my mind. I saw one walking across Trafalgar Square.
Yeah, they think we're the pests.
Yeah, they're everywhere. They found out that the Croydon cat murderer apparently are mostly foxes.
Are they?
Apparently, that's what it says on the internet.
Well, I wouldn't believe everything you read on the internet. I've seen cats versus foxes. Now, I'm not saying that this is always the way it goes, but I've seen cats make foxes run away. I should hope so too. Thing is, we don't have fox hunting in the middle of London, and I think there is a case for urban fox hunting there. I think I've seen that because, as I said earlier, I used to live in near a park, and one night when I was coming back, there were blokes with dogs, and they were going through that park, and it didn't look like they were taking dogs for a walk. They were hunting. That's exactly what they were doing. I think they were hunting foxes in the middle of the night in a park in Putney, if you please.
Yeah, something like that will have to happen. We'll have got to do something about these interlopers.
Well, I'm not saying it has to happen, but I'm just saying that I don't know what the solution is, but I just think there's too many of them. There's too many foxes, there's too many grey squirrels, and there's too many parakeets.
Do you know how I blame? I blame for Greg's wanting to open 24/7 in Leicester Square.
Well, I'm glad that we've pinpointed the nexus of fault. Good work there, Richard. Keep your eyes peeled. Thanks a lot, mate. 0345 6060 973. Let me see what I've got. Sarah says... Oh, no, this is the oil beetles, which I refuse to look up. I just won't do it, Sarah. Dan texts, I was born in 1984, and I was brought up by a generation insisting that I aim higher than picking fruit. That generation overwhelmingly voted to tank the economy. And now it wants us to be happy picking fruit rather than allow more foreign workers in, as long as they don't have to admit that they're wrong. That's just so utterly wild to me, says Dan, who was born in 1984. Yeah, that is about right. As part of the government's high-skill, high-wage economy, they want people to do some dead-end job for minimum wage. Because, that makes sense. And I ain't making that up. Wasn't it Suella Braverman who said precisely that? That we want a high-skill, high-wage economy, and that we're going to insist on people getting up out of their sick beds in order to pick fruit. I mean, you pick fruit for like a couple of months a year, and then what are you going to do? It's almost as though they haven't really thought much about it. Expecting that whole, small boats thing to keep people distracted. And it works for a while, but then, people get bored. Haven't you got anything else? Paul says, I think everyone should leave Boris Johnson alone. On a tiny island in the middle of an ocean. And Chris says, how much are we paying for Boris Johnson's security a year? And is it true that he gets that for life? Please tell me we aren't paying for Liz Truss's security.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I believe that she gets it for life as well. And don't they also get something like $500,000 a year for, buying staples? For their office. I think an ex-PM does get a stipend, and I think it's the thick end of £500,000 a year, isn't it? That's just too awful to contemplate. I'm going to have to look that up. Leave it with me. But yes, the security, and it's no small bill. I mean, if you wanted to buy the kind of security that Mr. Blobby and the Blunder Trust are getting on us, then it would be well into the six figures. It would be mid six figures, I betcha. Betcha. And they've got it forever. Why? Because we're mugs. I restate my case, and not one single person has suggested why we should be paying Boris Johnson's salary as an MP, because he ain't doing the job as an MP. I mean, he doesn't vote. When did he last go to Uxbridge, apart from a brief blast through for a photo opportunity where he put somebody else's work clothes on? What's he doing for the money? It's not an insignificant amount of money. It's about 87 grand a year, plus $250,000 in expenses. And I don't actually have the figures to hand, but I bet he maxes out his expenses. I'd bet a small amount of money that that's true. I mean, the man doesn't pay for anything. I just don't feel that he's good value for money. Do you? I mean, what do we get for it? We don't even get the laughs anymore.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
He's selling his laughs for cash in places abroad, here, there and everywhere. North, south, east and west, just not here. What a racket, eh? And Paul says if they wanted to find someone worse than Suella Braverman, they'd have to draw a pentacle on the floor to summon them. Has very, very strong views about that, does Paul. Now, if you missed any part of this super show, then I do feel that you will be able to catch up on Global Player, because we put it up, and the Saturday night show as well, as a podcast. Take the news and the ads out, which means it takes less time to listen to. You'll use less electricity, and by that method, do your bit to protect the environment. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
You can rewind live radio on Global Player, and Global Player is the only place that you will get the podcast version of this show. If you haven't got it, you can get it for free. Global Player's on your app store, or head to globalplayer.com. I'll be back tonight at 10 o'clock. Coming up at 4, Ali Mirage. Right now, Clive Ball. 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 Right now, Clive.